Welcome back. We're now a beautiful May 1st out here in southern Alberta, and the sun is shining, and it is 11 degrees at 8:15 a.m. So beautiful weather. It almost feels like summer has come to us already. So I'm out here in this barley field. Let me flip around here. So we got this seeded here a few days ago. I believe it was Thursday or Friday. And you can see the barley is just starting to germinate already. We do have some tails starting to grow on the seeds here. So with soil moisture as good as it is, and with soil temperature as warm as it is, this stuff is going to be out of the ground like a rocket. I think we'll probably be seeing some that was seeded early last week. We'll probably be seeing some start to emerge this week, but we'll see. We'll see as we go. This week you can definitely see the kochia is getting bigger in a real hurry. This is pretty much ideal growing conditions for kochia. Is bright sunny weather. You can see we've got a little bit of flaxweed mixed in here as well. Things are definitely greening up. In this winter wheat field here, there is a patch of potatoes where they didn't get harvested last year. It was just too wet. There's a big mud puddle here, so they got left. Just taking a quick dig here to see what I could find, and of course there is some leftover spuds, but they are in pretty poor condition here. So I got a couple down here I've already chopped up a little bit, and you can see they have definitely taken a turn for the worse. They are in such bad condition and rotted that even the wireworms don't seem to like them. Just digging up some seed row here in this pea field that got seeded last week. So this was, I believe, Wednesday last week this got seeded. You can see these guys have germinated. We got some nice tails on them here, so they are really starting to get going, and they're looking good. They're seeded at a pretty good depth, so they're still in the moisture. But I tell you, today digging around in the fields, you can definitely notice the last few days that moisture level has really dropped and is going down in a hurry. You know, these warm days, the little bit of a breeze really stripped that moisture out of the topsoil real fast. Well, as some of you may have heard, there is some problems going on with the irrigation canals in the LNID. This canal here is just upstream from Kehoe Lake, and you can see that we're not at the high water mark, but there is some water in it. It sounds like far upstream coming off the Old Man. The canal has been shut down due to some potentially major leakage issues. So I'm sure we'll hear more the next week what's going on, but right now it looks like there'll be very limited water available for irrigation in this area. Here you can see we have some pretty dense patches of lambsquarters starting to emerge. Now this usually isn't a super early weed. It does rely on a warmer soil temperature than something like, say, kochia. Similar to Russian thistle, it requires at least a certain period above 5 degrees Celsius, but as you can see, we have definitely gotten there. This stuff is growing like crazy. You can see we've got a flaxweed mixed in there as well. Well, some of the barley that's been planted is starting to sprout really good now, so it's absolutely amazing compared to last year how fast things are coming up. But the difference is last year we had dry, cold soils. This year we have, decent moisture anyways at the moment, and really warm soils, and it's making a huge difference at how fast things are germinating compared to last year. Here in this winter wheat field, I do have some wild oats that are just beginning to emerge. These guys were out of the ground about 3/4 of an inch, so it is definitely that time of the year with the soils warming up. They're getting going too. Well, the patches of winter annuals are definitely getting a bit bigger this week. These stinkweeds are really starting to gain in size a little bit. Now, if you're one of those people that does have difficulty distinguishing a stinkweed from a dandelion, if all else fails, take a bite of it. See how it tastes. Dandelions and stinkweed both have very distinctive tastes, and they're quite different. Well, really some beautiful weather again here Wednesday morning now. Out for a ride on the KLR, taking a look at some barley fields and seeing what's going on. Definitely not much chance of getting stuck on the bike right now, especially with the LNID basically being shut down due to canal leakage. As far as the timeline to get that repaired, the rumor mill is flying at full speed with everything from 7 days to 2 months, so maybe we'll know more at the end of the week, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. Well, here's south of Lethbridge in this field, which has been seeded to wheat. You can see we kind of got some green patches going on in here, and this is not wheat that is emerging, although there is a few that are starting to come out. It is mostly wild oats. All these guys here are all wild oats coming up in between the rows, so not really nice to see at all. Of course, wild oats are pretty resistant to a lot of things these days, but we are going to be hitting these with a shot of Inferno, so that will hopefully do the trick for now. This is what I like to call the hope and pray method of seeding canola. You can see we got our canola seed row right here at about 1/2 inch depth, so pretty shallow, and this is some fairly sandy ground here, so it will definitely not be emerging until we get some rain on it, hence the hope and pray. Here in this winter wheat, we have a little bit of Canada thistle starting to emerge with these temperatures. It's not a big surprise. These guys are really a warm weather weed. They are quite late in emerging usually. Of course, they are a perennial. They come up from roots underground. So this guy is doing pretty good here. This guy has probably just emerged in the last day or so. Here we have some red lentils that are in at a decent depth. They're in about 1 inch, which puts them about 1/4 of an inch into the moisture layer. So we should have adequate moisture to get germinated, especially if we end up getting any thunderstorms tonight or rain this weekend. But right now, things are looking pretty good. Looks like this one here might have already started sprouting just a little bit. It's got a little bit of a tail on it already. Got Stella the seed row checker working today. He's determined to figure out how to use that tool. I'm definitely a little bit more careful in my digging than she is, especially here in the canola. This is a relatively sandy area. You can see the canola has gone in about 3/4 of an inch deep here. Looking pretty good. We're just inside the moisture layer. So, and then hopefully the forecast is looking good for moisture this weekend. So should be good to go. Well, today's field find is a little better than the usual wrenches and hammers I find. There's a nice old antique seed for me. I was just checking out some barley here that is starting to emerge, and what do I find? A nice little wireworm right in the seed row. This guy is actually a pretty good size. I'll zoom in on him here. So I'm not sure exactly which species this is off the top of my head. They can be a little difficult to tell apart, but he's still fairly active, which means he has probably only just recently started feeding. If he had fed on, you know, a treated seed or two, he'd probably be unconscious or sleeping at the moment, but right now he's still doing fine, so hopefully he won't be for very long. Growth chamber tests this week are pretty much inconclusive due to being pruned by house cats. So I can honestly say that it seems like they preferred to not eat the Humanterra quite so much. It is a little bit taller than the other ones, but that's purely subjective. I have no idea what was running through my cat's heads. As far as the tomatoes go, things are looking very good here. Again, as per usual, flip this around the right way. So once again, we got Control, Nature's Aid, Humanterra, and both combined. These two are definitely looking a little bit more advanced, but this one's done a pretty good job of catching up. You can really see the untreated is a couple days behind basically in growth. It is significantly smaller in comparison, but this will be the last time you'll see these guys. They are off into the garden. Well, we didn't end up getting any thunderstorms or any moisture at all last night, although the forecast for tomorrow is still looking pretty good, followed by another week of sun, but not quite so hot. It was 17 degrees at 8 o'clock this morning, so we definitely had some warm overnight temperatures, which is really getting that crop going. So things this week really are looking up.